Podcasting from the Bay Ridge section of Brooklyn, New York. This is the Brooklyn Baritone Podcast. Hey everyone, as usual for me it is good morning. But whenever you choose to listen to this podcast, whether it's the morning, afternoon, evening, nighttime, or even late at night, I always appreciate the likes, the looks, the listens, and of course I would always appreciate the support by hitting the subscribe and notification bell on my YouTube channel, Brooklyn Baritone. And again, no pressure, do it if you want to. Oh, you guys who's looking at the video, if you listen to the audio portion, use your imagination. I have the Verrazano Bridge here, but behind me in the Belt Parkway with cars zipping and zooming, and you might even catch a couple of jet skiers out here in the water behind me enjoying life. And one good way to enjoy life is to understand the value that you can bring and the value of others. One of the best ways to do that is to raise kids properly. So I'm going to talk to some people out here who will call parents, pay rents, pay bills, pay for other stuff. That's probably where they got the name parents from. You guys who are parents have to learn how to raise your kids properly. And it's not just according to what we understand as social guidelines, current social guidelines as to what is the proper way to raise children. Because we have a lot of things in the court system that basically depicts that all a child needs is just clothes on their back and a roof over their head and, a decent amount of guidance. It goes way more deeper than that. And I think that a lot of children who turn to adults end up being adults that have a deficit because there are some things that they were lacking from their parenting. Can I blame all parents? No, a lot of people who are parents or anyone who influences a child in any way, shape, or form, they work with what they got. No one here is perfect. We know that. But we have to understand that we have standards that we have to live up to. There are people out there who will abuse children. Sexual abuse, verbal abuse, mental abuse. You crush a child's dreams because you don't support your kids. There are different ways that you can provide a house, provide clothes, provide food, but then you're not providing the proper substance for their character for them to grow properly. Let me expound on that a little bit more. You see, there are a lot of people who don't learn how to be financially or fiscally responsible adults. I'm not all for the love of money. That's the root of all evil. Knowing how to manage yourself in the system of man, knowing how to manage resources. Money is a definite resource that should be used as a tool, not a thing to go get. Now, we grow up not really understanding how to respect money. We just have a lot of people who know how to go to school and then go to work, get money so they can pay their bills, get a house, get a car, whatever. But you have to know how to be responsible with that so you know how to make the most of your time, because when we get jobs or careers, we are basically compensated for our time. So a lot of people don't know how to utilize their hours, their work ethics, or their capabilities and talents to the best so they can earn proper money for their time, but then not become a lover of money. Because people could be around money or have a lack of money which drives them to get money, but then they have to have that smarts to know how to not be a shrewd person and to not be a lover of money to chase it for the wrong reasons. We also have people out there who are very book smart but not street smart. I used to get that a lot when I was way younger. And the problem is that it's good to be academically smart, but I have my reservations of the systems that have a lot of focus on being academically smart and strong, because a lot of things that we learn academically turn out to be a lot of falsities. It is a good amount of indoctrination with certain things. I'm not going to knock everything about the educational industry because there's so much things out there. But yes, the ground intent for many of these things is to help you focus on what you feel that you want to do in life. But at the same time, there are many things that does institutionalize us and gets us ready to be a 9-to-5er so that we can be basically siphoned off of through taxes, through our mass psychological directions with our spending power, earning power, and all that stuff, as opposed to learning how to be a proper steward of our resources and our intellectual capacity. So how do you become street smart? Well, unfortunately, You'd have to be learned of the world of the streets. If you're in the city, there's a whole lot of streets that you got to be understanding of and knowledgeable of. But there are ways for a child or a person to be street smart, so to speak, without having to be running in the streets. You don't need to be running in the streets. The best way is to bring these children up in the way that the Father needed us to do it from jump. I know a lot of people think it's antiquated, and the unfortunate part is a lot of us have been taught the wrong way of how to read the book. We all have a reservations. I've had my reservations for most of my life about reading the Bible because, you go to church and almost every pastor sounds exactly the same way when they're preaching. I think they go to a prerequisite course for some reason to speak a certain way, usually in black churches and other churches as well, is to bring the child up in church. But that's the problem. You got to bring the child up in the way of the Father, of Yeshua. That's where our character, the good points of our character comes from. So you have to know how to be in the world, know how to move around the world. Because Yeshua, he was in the streets, but he wasn't of the streets. You feel me? He was running up on people who were shunned by other people who were, criminals in the eyes of others in the other society, rightfully so. But he was rolling with those people. He knew how to come at people. He knew how to talk. He knew how to recognize things. You have to plant the seeds in your children's head to understand, to have discernment of the world. You don't have to be discerned of the world by running the streets, going through the system, going through a lot of drama. It's not necessary. Teach them to learn how to recognize these things, have proper standards for what a character is supposed to be, so that they know how they're supposed to move. So then when you know you are supposed to move and walk a certain way, you're not going to have room for other people to bring those standards down. You may like somebody, you could probably vibe with someone, but you have to know what that person is about. Same thing when we go to relationships. It's other things that a lot of parents fail as for teaching children of how to pick a mate, because they're not solid and grounded in who they're supposed to be. Once you're solid and grounded in what you're supposed to be, your focuses in life, what you want to accomplish, what you should be walking, what path you should be walking down, you will know that you can't afford anyone else who doesn't have that same like mind or anything that will attract you to walk that proper path and expand on that even more. So these are just little quick examples I want to give. I want to keep this one short. I like to talk a lot, but these are just some core examples. Deal with money. Deal with, not just being academically smart, being discerned of the world and themselves. Know how to move in these streets if they need to be like that. Know how to pick a mate. Be a proper mate that someone wants to pick up, and then not because you're dumbstruck because she got a fatty over there, or he got a nice smile, he tall, and he got a nice cocoa skin. We need a whole lot more than that. There's a lot of people out here running around this world because the parents decided to use the wrong standards to make money, to be in the streets, bring a lot of drama, bring children in this world, and then now they pass these things on where they don't know how to move properly. A lot of people end up suffering for most of their lives where they have a deficit, like I said earlier, and a lot of people don't really come out that deficit until they're way later on in life. And in their earlier years in life, they could have had a good foundation to move properly, to get a good, nice bank account so they could have the proper resources needed to move how they need to move, to have that proper mate that they can build up and that could build them up properly. And then they know how to move in the world, how to recognize, a monster. You can recognize a monster out there without having to be a monster. That's all I want to say anyways. I want you guys to check out the rest of my content on my website. It's www.brooklynbaritone.com. You can also check me out on my YouTube channel at Brooklyn Baritone. I'm also on LinkedIn under Corey Ashley. You can find me on Instagram and Facebook. You can also listen to the audio podcast on Google Podcasts, iTunes Podcasts, and Amazon Music under Podcast. You can also find me on television, Brooklyn local cable television, on Verizon, on RCN, on Optimum, and Spectrum. 4 times a week, I air on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 12 a.m. and at 2 p.m. Anyways, thank you guys. I want you guys to be blessed. And for listening, we'll do it next week. I am out.